Okay, the project today is to replace some tyres. This is my touring bike, Trike, and I'm going to put some bigger tyres on because these Kojaks are fine for road use, you know, just general use, but for touring I want something a little bit more rugged than this, even though this one has got a very good puncture protection, I should say. Yeah, I wouldn't like to use them on long distances pulling a trailer because there's no sort of grip on them. So what I'm replacing them with for a trial is what I use on the Velo, but a larger tyre. This is a shredder fold-up tyre, 406, but this one's a 44, and I use 40s on the Velo, which are slightly bit narrower, but these being bigger you don't have to put so much pressure in them, so I'm thinking with the suspension and whatever should make it quite a nice ride. And the treads are very tight, so it gives you the grip on the corners, but you get hardly any rolling resistance. They're extremely good tyres, and it's really weird that Schrobi have stopped making them. I think everybody's scrambling to get stocks of them at the moment. I know I am. I've got enough to keep me going with the Velo for a while, but I thought, well, I'll try them on here because they're such a good running tyre. But I'm going to have to replace a few things like the tape, because this is the original tape in there, and I don't think it's really up to scratch on these ones. These ones are really nice and thick, high pressure ones. You know, I mean, let's face it, when a manufacturer is making an item, they're not going to go for the most expensive stuff they can put on it, and you can actually feel the way the tape is already being pushed in to the actual hole where the spoke is, where it doesn't happen with these. I don't know if that's showing up, but you can see where the dimples are in this tape that's being pushed into the top of the spoke tops. And when you put weight on the tyres, especially the back, more so the back, the spoke can, the tube can sort of go back into that little hole with the pressure and puncture itself. And you can see how thin this tape is compared to the high pressure tape that I'm going to replace it with. What I do is put the valve stem of the tube back through the hole in the tape, and then that keeps it in place while you're putting it on. You might still have to adjust it once it's on, but at least you don't have to adjust it by much because the valve is holding it all in place. Another little tip is I put my finger through it like that and just run it round like that, and then you can actually get the tape centralised as you run your finger round, and that saves you picking it and moving it about. And like I say, with the valve stem still in there, it's holding the hole in place. If you can actually just run your finger around like that and get it to sit in the middle of the rim if you do it carefully. As you can see, when you take the valve out, the hole's in the right place, or near enough in the right place. It's only a little bit out, so that's all right, the valve will push that in, and then you can see it's running in the middle of the rim itself. Right, this is the 406/44. You can tell it's quite a big tyre, and I've got a funny feeling I'm going to have to readjust the mudguards to make them higher, because obviously I've got suspension on this one. So once I put the tyre on, I can give me some idea of how far up I've got to bring the gap on the suspension. Always good to check the tread as well before you put it on, that it's in the right rotation. And seeing the tyre is a lot fatter or wider, I'm using the SV7. If you can see the difference between what was in the Kojak and what's in this thicker tyre. Now here's let's get this out of my mouth. Hold on. Here's an interesting conversation for you. The little valve screws that fit on the valves. You know, I fit them religiously and I don't fit them religiously. On the Velo I never fit them, and it's never caused a problem. I always fit them on the Trike, but I've never tried them without. But somebody going to sort of tell me why they're put on there, because without them on there they don't seem to move anyway. So yeah, it'd be interesting to know the thoughts of people on these little valve screws that hold the valve to the tyre, of what they actually do and if they're necessary really. I always put a tiny bit of air in the tube, just so when I put it in the tyre it fits nice and snug. You can just let it out again if you want, but to me it helps not have the beading snake eyeing the tube itself, puncturing it when you're putting it in. Have a little bit of air in it seems to keep it away from the beading when you're putting the other bit of the tyre back on. Could be wrong, could be right. It works for me. Another tip is, no matter how tight a tyre is, it will go on. All you have to do is keep pinching it round to get the beading in the centre of the tyre, and it gives way then to the part where you're trying to put on. And do it with your thumbs, don't do it with a tyre lever. You will puncture it most times than not. You'll damage the tube or the rim itself, or you could even damage the beading that holds the tyre into the rim, which is this bit here. If you break that, the tyre just pops out. So always do it with your thumbs and just take your time. It doesn't matter, there's no rush. Just keep pushing it, going round, squeezing the tyre until it pops on with your thumbs. It will go on. Sometimes it's absolutely impossible, but it will go on. You just give it time. This tyre's not that tight, but you can get them that are really tight, and you get this little bit here and it looks like that will never go on. But what you do is you just go around pinching the other part of the tyre, bring the bead together in the centre of the actual rim, and you'll be surprised it gives you enough room to get it back on at this end. You just have to keep pushing it with your thumbs. Don't put fluid on it either. I know people that say put washing up liquid on it, but that's not a good idea either, because it stays on it. So it'd just as easy come out with it as putting it back in. So what's the point? The other thing I do is, once I've got a little bit of air in them, I'll just go round both sides and make sure the tube is not underneath the beading. That's another reason why I put a little bit of air in, so it doesn't get trapped under the beading. But it's always best to have a check. There's nothing more frustrating than getting a tyre on, pumping it up, and it gets split because it's underneath the beading. Sometimes you'll hear it go pop where it comes back from underneath it, and then you're lucky if it's not punctured it. But it can happen without a punching. Yeah, I'm going to have to bring the mudguards up slightly. As you can see, the gap with the Kojaks on is a lot larger than this one, and it's the travel of the actual suspension. So basically it wants to be able to hit bottom on suspension and not hit the mudguard. So I'm going to have to sort of just adjust these two nuts here just to bring the mudguard up a little bit. I'll measure that one because I know that one works okay, so that gives me some idea what the clearance is on this one. So these shredders have a maximum of 70 psi, and as I've never ridden with these shredders on before, I'm going to put them on the maximum and see how they run, and then bring them down, because usually I run with my tyres roughly about 10 psi under max, which I usually find is the most comfortable with them. And so we'll try that first, but we'll put this one up to 70 and then adjust the mudguard, I think, so we know what it is, so it's adjacent to that one. Another little tip, when you get an Allen key bolt like that and a nut, a self-locking nut on the back, never try to undo it with the Allen key, otherwise you'll just round off the Allen key hole. Times that's happened to me. So it's better to loosen it off with a spanner first, then use the Allen key. There's nothing like a finger for measuring things. Now that's the gap. That's the gap I'm going to want on the other side, basically. That saves you mucking about. Yeah, if you can get your finger in nice and smoothly all the way around, then that's what you need on that side. And that should work, shouldn't it? Logic, finger logic I call it. Same thing again, when you're going to do these lock nuts up, they've got the little bit of plastic in it to stop them from coming undone. Do them up on the nut, not on the Allen key, because again all you want to do with the Allen key is just to hold it in place, so you can hold the tension while you're doing it up with a spanner. Otherwise you'll just massacre the hole where the Allen key's going in. So that's adjusted the clearance for the bigger tyre. You can always adjust that later if it's too much. Don't know till I really sit on it. I'm going through exactly the same process with this side as I did the other side, but one thing I forgot to say is the tape. When you unrail it, it's usually you put it on the way it comes undone, because in the inside you have a rough sort of texture, and on the top you have a soft texture. Now it's the rough texture that goes up against the wheel, because then it gives it a bit of a grip, but you don't need no grip against the tube. You don't want nothing interfering with the tube whatsoever, so the tube can sort of move around at its own will. But it's the rough edge underneath, you can feel it with your thumb, that you put to the wheel. But usually they undo the way they go on anyway, unless they're a sticker one, but then again you know that because it's sticky part down. Anyway, so yeah, thought I'd mention that. Okay, we had most of these set at the finger measurement, which should be okay. Okay, so I'm going to change the back one to a marathon, but I thought I'd give this a ride around the blocks to see what it feels like with these on. But they're both at 70 psi, but I might let them down a couple of pounds. Okay, my first impressions are definitely noisier for a start. That's the tread. Excuse me. The steering is positive, there's no problem there. Yeah, you can definitely feel the tread, but whether it would be a problem on a long run, because really what I'm trying to achieve is a softer, ruggeder ride, if you know what I mean. The slicks are okay, but if in different weathers you're going to have a problem. I have noticed on other rides on touring that I've slid with weight on the back, so on the front. So that's what I'm trying to achieve with this, a tread that's not going to interfere, because the marathons were just too heavy. It's like riding it's like driving a tractor. So with a bit of luck, these have a lot less rolling resistance. So we'll have to find it. I'd be happy with them, I think. They're better than the marathons, put it that way. So I think they're going to be a happy medium. Again, it all depends on what I find with tyre pressures. I think the mudguard wants a little bit of adjustment, because it wants bringing over a bit, because there's too much tyre showing here. Going to get going to get water coming off of there, so I'll just undo that nut and push it across, because it's on the slot underneath here, so that's easy adjustable. And then I'll put the Marathon Plus on the back, which should then complete it and should be ready for touring. We have the back wheel off now, and I'm quite pleased really. There's not a lot of difference between the two tyres actually, so that's good. So I don't have to muck around with the mudguard on this one. So the Trike is a 406/40, and like I say, the one is a 47, so the only way we're going to see is by putting it on, but I might have to change the mudguard. Suck it and see. You can actually see a lot better on this one how cheap tape performs. I don't know if you can see where the top of the spokes are. I had a really bad time with this when I was going around Kent a few years ago on this one, the Sprint, and it all started off okay, and I had a trailer, and then I started to get punches, and I was getting up to 2 punches a day. Trying different things like letting tyres down and God knows what else. It actually drove me crazy. And it wasn't until the last knockings that I found a shop and got some new tape and sat in the campsite that night and changed it, and then I didn't get any problems at all. But when I took the old tape off, it had actually cracked where it pushed it in so far, and like I say, when you're carrying all the weight on the back, it acts to the actual pressure of the tyre, and it drove the tube into that little hole there, and it was fracturing the tube. Bloody nightmare, to tell you the truth. So now I always replace them straight away. Just put a high pressure on them, and then that cures that. So that's all adjusted. Brought the mudguard out. So it doesn't need a lot because it should sit in there quite snug, and shouldn't be touching. That's good. There's a nice clearance in the back there. So yeah, pleased with that. That's the 47 on. Give her a test ride in a minute. Yep, that's not bad. That's the sort of setup I was after. Like I say, with the slicks, I'm not. I don't like touring with slicks on. I like a bit of tread so you can control the weight and the trailer on the back. And like I say, I like shredders on the Velo, and I can't see why they won't run as good on here. They don't have a puncher strip, but they're very good on puncher, and it don't take more than 5 minutes to change a tube anyway on the front of one of these, so that's not a problem. I've got the Marathon on the back, so that should be pretty bulletproof, and that's what I want really. I don't want to be mucking around with punchers with trailers on and things. Plus there's a better grip in the wet and rough tracks with the Marathon on the back than the Trike, because that was semi-slick. So yeah, all in all, it's feeling quite good, but I'll have to go and run. I'll have a run as it's set up, and then I'll have a run with the trailer on the back and see how it all settles in. But it's going to take a time for the tyres to wear in as well. Sort of another 10-15 miles on these tyres just to sort of round them off a bit, get the newness out of them. Probably quieten down a little bit then, because they are a little bit noisy, I must admit. You can hear the tread. With the slicks you don't get the tread noise. Okay, that's it. Yeah, so yeah, pleased with that. Like I say, we'll have to do a couple of trial runs and see what it feels like. But it's I've run on Marathons on the back anyway before, so that one over there has got Marathons all round, and that's what I did the Norfolk and the Hastings tour on, exactly how that one's set up. So yeah, the other nice advantage is that I'm only carrying one size tube now, fits all, so that's always handy, so I don't have to carry two sizes of tubes like I was carrying with Kojaks and the Trike on the back, because they're all now V7s. Yeah, so anyway, I'll keep you up to date on this one.